Hello and welcome to the channel. I am Julie and this is Shining Brightly, and today I wanted to continue to give you tools and tips for reaching your highest potential as a parent and being the best version of yourself each and every day. For me, the biggest way I do that is through building the relationship I have with my children, and that is why I spend a great deal of my time focusing on that and a lot of energy helping parents learn ways to improve the relationship they have with their children so that they can move forward confidently and with much joy and ease. If that's something that interests you, I invite you to stick around and continue to reach your highest potential as a parent. I was just on Instagram and there was a reel that hit me so hard because it's something I'm so passionate about, and that is the biggest predictor of your child's mental health is a relationship that you have with them. And it struck me so deeply because so much of it felt true to my core and true to my soul. And the words that followed after were ones I wanted to share with you and then reframe them into what I'm going to call Shining Brightly method, which is turning those negative words into positive ones and what we can actually take from them in order to grow and become the best version of ourselves and reach our highest potential as parents. So the first one was, your impatience becomes your child's anxiety. And they had a little video clip of a 2-year-old trying to put their shoes on, and you can easily see where if you're impatient and you really just need to go, because we all are busy. I haven't met someone who says they don't have a full calendar and somewhere to be. In that impatience, you can feel anxiety and rising in you because you're going to be late, and that's then passed on to the child who's simply trying to take that moment to learn how to put their shoes on. And I would like to reframe that. I would like to say, hey, what can we learn from this? What tool can we gain from this? And that is the power in providing space for a child to learn something, because in that you are saying you are worth waiting for. And can you imagine the self-worth grow when someone creates a space by signaling with their body and with their energy that you are worth waiting for? When they're that age, it's learning how to tie their shoes so you can leave the house, or simply putting on their shoes. When they're a teenager, it's letting them get through all the emotions of that friend saying or doing something they were not expecting, or their first heartbreak, and creating a space where someone says you are worth waiting for will build your self-worth more than arriving to that appointment or school drop-off 30 seconds earlier. And we can take that little tiny, what seems like a tiny space or moment in time, and make it a powerful, transformative opportunity for both you to grow as a parent and your child to grow in their development and their self-worth. You can see the potential that lies within this small space and bubble of time. The next one was, your judgment becomes their self-doubt. And I was thinking of an example of a little girl who runs in, takes her little brother's balloon, and then runs away. It would be very easy to pass judgment and say, well, she is really selfish, or who is she to do that, or gosh, what she did was wrong. My invitation here is to get curious before passing judgment. And if you had stopped and asked that child, hey, what makes you want that balloon instead? They would simply say something that makes complete sense. In that example, maybe she wanted a string that was shorter so she could reach her balloon and touch it. And the other person's balloon had a shorter string. So when she swapped them, she got what they wanted and the other one still had a balloon. That makes logical sense. If we skip into judgment, that judgment is then passed on to the child. And they might begin to say, oh, well, maybe I'm not good enough to have a balloon that has a shorter string, or who am I to desire a balloon with a short string. That then translates later on to, am I good enough for that job, or am I good enough to be in that class, or am I good enough for them to like me or not? Again, it seems like something simple in that moment, but when we take the time to get curious, oftentimes we can see an opportunity that is inside that circumstance or situation, instead of creating a thought pattern or a thought process that could be detrimental down the road. Now, it's very easy to get caught up in, oh my gosh, everything I say is wrong. You know better, you do better. Today's the day you learn something new. Today's the day you want to say, you know what? Maybe I will get curious before I pass judgment. Or maybe I will get curious and ask a couple questions before I decide what might be better in this situation, instead of even passing judgment to begin with. The next one that they said was, your criticism becomes their inner voice. And there are certain things that I'll do and I'll hear a little voice inside my head that speaks something that someone had spoken to me, and realize, wow, whenever I did that certain action, someone would say this about me or about the way I was doing it, and I would always hear that, and it was just a lot of criticism. And reflecting on that and how I have changed for my own children. For example, we were going to go outside and see if we can change our playhouse into a chicken coop, and my oldest has shown interest in becoming an engineer, and he's been building and creating things since he was little. That's something I continue to foster, but it's even when he hangs up his bike with the 3D thing he printed in the garage, and I say, wow, I love your brain and how it works and the things you create. Or when we're going out to the playhouse that I would love to turn into a chicken coop, I say, hey, I need my lead engineer with me, because those are the things that he's going to say to himself when he is in a new situation, and it's just going to kind of be in the background. And I try to choose my words wisely, and I try to be sure my words are building them up even in tough situations. And whatever you want your child to be thinking inside with their own inner voice are the words you should be speaking to them outside often. Because the ones that are on repeat on the outside are the ones that are going to be on repeat on the inside. The last thing that was in that reel was, your disappointment becomes your child's shame. And I can think of plenty of examples where someone was disappointed in me and that became a point of shame. And I'm a big proponent of no shame and guilt, because those are not ways to effectively and permanently change behavior if that's what you're doing, but also those are not pillars you want any relationship to be standing on, whether it's with an adult or a child. So I was thinking that you might be disappointed in a situation. You might be disappointed because you know your child could do better, and this is not the best that they could have done, and you might have that disappointment. But again, I invite you to learn and grow with your child in that moment. And the example that comes to mind was, I have a friend who is homeschooling, and her child did a project early in the year, and he did his best work, and she was really proud of that. And now it's the end of the year, and he's, ready for school to be done, and he did just barely what he needed to do in order to say he did it. It was not even close to his best work, and she inside felt disappointed because she knew he could do better. So she has a choice in that moment to pass that disappointment on or not. And we discussed that this would be a perfect opportunity to learn and grow together, but also have something to reflect upon for the future. So I invited her to take both the projects out, because she had both of them still, and to ask him to say what he notices the differences are between the two projects and how they came out, and then decide which he wants to do in the future, and then to give himself a grade on both projects based on the criteria that were laid out before the project was completed. And in doing that, that gives the child the opportunity to say, hey, do I want to present and put out into the world this type of project? Or do I want to present and put out into the world this type of project? But as I mentioned before, it also becomes something you can reflect on later. So in this case, he will be going into public school, back into public school, and he will have the opportunity to talk with his mom if something comes up. Hey, do you want to be this project or this project today? And it becomes something that they can use as a tool to communicate, and it becomes an opportunity where they got to grow and learn together, as opposed to just layers of shame or disappointment. And again, nobody's perfect. I'm far from perfect. I am learning as we go here. But as I'm learning, I'm sharing so that hopefully we can all do better. And my goal really is for all of us to improve one step better each day. I hope you took something from this video that could be helpful, something you can implement, maybe something you come back and rewatch, ponder a little bit further. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for being here. Shining brightly, Julie.